Unbreakable is a 2000 American neo-noir superhero drama film written, produced, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. The film tells the story of a Philadelphia security guard, David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, who slowly discovers that he may be having possessed supernatural powers. Um, Okay, let me just point this out. This is one of my all-time favorite films. I'm going to say that. This is possibly M. Night Shyamalan's best movie ever, behind that of The Sixth Sense. Well, actually, I think this is better than The Sixth Sense. Like, yeah, The Sixth Sense is a terrific film, but Unbreakable just has something to it. I think it's because it was ahead of its time at that when it came out in 2000, because at that time comic movies were slowly starting to get back into the mainstream. Had this movie been released in like 2015 or in the mid 2000s, during when comics were starting to become a boom, this movie would have been hailed as a masterpiece now still, because it took the superhero drama film very seriously. It took it very seriously in a realistic way. But this was made in 2000, which means it was ahead of its time, and that makes it all the more unique. And I really love this film. Like, it's basically telling the story of what would happen if Superman was on Earth and he didn't know he was Superman. That is a great film. That's a great idea. That's an interesting idea. It's an original film. Like I said, it stars Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is the hero. Samuel L. Jackson is, well, the great it's hard to really call him a nutcase, because really, I'll get to that in a bit, but I did really love this film. This is arguably one of my all-time favorite films. Um, and also, it, it tells a story, and I really was freaked out. Like, they added the shock factor, like, right at the beginning of this movie, where Elijah Prince is born, and his bones are broken, and his arms and legs are broken right after coming out of the womb, and I'm like, damn, that was dark, movie. Way to throw us into that suspension of disbelief already. Like, it is a real disease regarding what he suffers from. So yeah, this is real. This is an authentic disease that is actually real. The type 1, I think it's described as one of the worst or the least worst, but all the more it is bad, is a horrible disease where the person's bones easily break. And it's shown in flashback about Elijah when he was younger, where he starts to develop this theory based on comic books he has read in his many hospital stays, that if he represents an extreme human frailty, perhaps there's someone unbreakable on the opposite extreme. And this is what led to him finding David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, as I said, is also searching for meaning in his life. He gave up his football career to marry Andre, played by Robin Wright, after they were involved in a car accident, which he faked his injury so he could be with her. And however, their marriage is dissolving to the distress of their young son Joseph, played by Spencer Trent Clark, who plays great in this movie. David Dunn is the sole survivor of a major train wreck which killed 131 people. But however, David Dunn surprisingly came out of this unscathed. Well, maybe mentally scarred, but otherwise physically unscathed. And he finds a car in his windshield and inviting him to Elijah's store. Elijah proposes that he's the kind of person who he's been looking for, based off of a comic book superhero. And he's trying to learn whether or not David was ill or injured during his life, and he was technically injured, though it was later revealed that his weakness is water, which I will also get into because they kind of somewhat bugged me a bit on that. But like, ultimately, like, I really did love this movie, and like, as I'm pretty sure everyone, and a lot of people say this is their favorite movie. Like, when I was looking for this movie on Blu-ray, like, I went to Target, I went to FYE, I went to Walmart, I looked everywhere for this film, I went to Best Buy, and I could never find it. I even asked the store reps there, and all of them kept saying, oh, the film with Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis, yeah, I love that film. Like, that film back then never found his audience, but now in the modern age of comic book heroes, and there's this film that takes it seriously, I mean, like, yeah, there's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which takes it seriously at times, but it has comedy in there. But this is like a realistic adaptation of the comic book series. But I really like they always like I discussed with these store people with the employees at these various stores, and they all remember this, and they all love this movie. So it has found its audience now than it did back then. Sadly, they never did manage to get their audience back then, or else this movie would have made $1 billion, in my honest opinion. But I wanted to get onto the address of the weakness to water problem that David Dunn has in this movie. The human body is a majority percentage of water. I keep forgetting. I keep thinking 80%, 70% water, and blood is 80% water, and that kind of confused me. Like if they had explained that if he drinks more water or has an excess of water that's beyond the normal human subroutine, then yeah, then there could be a problem. Then yeah, that would explain things. But it's never really explained how this happened. Like it's never really explained how this is possible. How he could be affected weakness is water, where his entire body is technically made of water in a way. So that always confused me. And now let's get to the plot twist where Elijah is the villain. I actually honestly found this story to be actually tragic for Elijah. And especially in Nostalgia Craig's video about the movie, where he talks about his interpretation to the M. Night Shyamalan movie, where it's technically finding Elijah's story tragic. Like, when I first saw this movie, I was like, ooh, I hate him, I hate him. Like, I was so mad. Like, he killed all these innocent people for what? To find this? But now that I'm older and look at this movie from a different perspective, there's this one line of dialogue that always got to me a bit, where his voice is breaking, he looks like he's trying his best not to cry, and then he says, I'm not a mistake. And that's like really sad, and like I'm not condoning his actions, but it's sad that he's so desperate to find his purpose in life, trying to find out that he is meaningful, he does have a purpose, and it came at the cost of, it kind of consumed his sanity pretty much, and I found this tragic. Like an antagonist that we're supposed to technically hate, but we also find tragic sympathizing with him. Think about that. We're sympathizing with the villain here, technically. I have a hard time saying he's the villain because he's like, it feels like he's being forced to do this. Like they never really explained why he came to this conclusion where he has to do these terroristic threats in order to achieve his goals. Like they never explained that. They talk about the theory, but they don't talk about why he decided to resort to terroristic reasoning. But I found this movie, like, the ending of the movie was very bittersweet. Like, David is leaving, and they show this screen saying David Dunn led the authorities to a limited edition where they found 3 acts of terrorism by Elijah. And Elijah's saying this because of the kids. They called me Mr. Glass. And he's showing this bittersweet smile. He even acknowledges that he regrets what he does, where he had said he made sacrifices and times he wanted to give up. But he was so desperate, he was so hopeful that if he does this kind of act, he'll find the person he's looking for that will give him purpose in life. And that's really sad. That would be a awesome underdog story, but it's going about it in a different way. Like he's supposed to be villainized because of he's become the underdog, and he becomes the villain of the story. And that makes it all the more tragic for me. I really like this movie is so great, and I'm sad that it has a consensus of only 68% last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, because with a weaker ending, Unbreakable is fairly pale in comparison to Sixth Sense. Even though there is no comparison to these movies since they're not definite sequels, it's just made by the same director. And how it didn't find his audience back in 2000, but if it was made now, it would have found a huge audience. It would have possibly earned $1 billion. That's my honest prediction of what could have been had the movie been released now. But the fact that it was released in 2000, way before the comic boom began, it makes it more and more unique because it's never been attempted before and it hasn't been attempted since. And that's what makes this movie so great. The acting's good, the cinematography is good, and the dialogue is interesting much. And and James Newton Howard's score is very great in this movie. I was like standing up and saluting, saying, "Look, where goes a real hero, man." And I wanted to do that, and I just laughed at myself when I wanted to do that. But that's what the music felt like. It was uplifting. It was like, yeah, we did it. Like, yeah, he's doing it. Yes, he's doing it. Yes, he's fucking doing it. Like, he's finally gonna do it. He's finally gonna do it. He's gonna achieve his dream. Kind of mentality. So overall, this movie was great. I think it's better than The Sixth Sense. It's like the successor, and M Night Shyamalan's best movie work yet. And sad that M Night Shyamalan would begin his decline after Signs, and we all know how that ended up. Yeah. But this movie is going to be heralded in the passage of time and hopefully will become a modern masterpiece. It is already considered a masterpiece to me, but a modern masterpiece for people to talk about years from now, decades from now. And it is talked about now. It does have its audience, but I want to see it grow more and more because this movie's so worth it. I don't think there'll ever be another movie like this for a long time. Well, everyone, this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.